I've worked as an actor for over 20 years in the film industry, and I got into voice acting, I guess, as a kind of side hustle, before side hustles were a thing. Because where I was living at the time, I was actually living in New Zealand. I wasn't living in Los Angeles, I was in New Zealand. It's not a big film industry over there, and it's with all things, you know, you've got this much work and you've got this many people, so you know, you had to find ways to pay other bills and stuff. And so getting into voice acting seemed like the logical thing. I fell into doing voice work for Power Rangers completely by accident. Before I knew it, they were just bringing me back over and over and over again, and then I did other things. I did video games and cartoon characters and et cetera, and now I'm doing anime. So that's kind of a crash course on me. If you want more details, ask away. Yes?
Out of the Power Rangers franchise, what was your most favorite villain character that you voiced?
My most favorite villain character. I love answering this question now. So for a couple of years it was hard for me to decide because, you know, certain characters had their own charm. Like, you know, one character had fantastic dialogue. One character, I loved the sound of him. Another character, you know, this, that, and the other. And the character who I've grown to love the most, I didn't really like at first, and that's Scrozzle from Beast Morphers. The story behind him is that I wasn't going to audition for Beast Morphers. I had already done years of voice work for the franchise, and I was being trained to kind of become one of the ADR directors. So I thought, well, you know, I've had a good run. I just won't do anything for Beast Morphers. And long story short, after the first day of auditions for Scrozzle, we didn't have anything. They were just, for some reason, just didn't have anything usable. And so they asked me, the show asked me, said, you know, could you audition for it, because we know we'll have at least one good thing to submit to the producers. And I was like, okay. It was the morning of the audition. It was a half hour before I was supposed to go in, and I was in my bathroom, and I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I was horrified. I was like, I have nothing for this character. What am I going to do? And I was just like, I was afraid I was going to go into the recording booth and just they were going to hit record and nothing was going to come out and I was going to look like an idiot. So I just wanted to have something to give them, and I was like going, and nothing was coming out. I'm thinking like, okay, he's a robot, he's evil, he's a genius, you know, what does that sound like? And nothing was coming out, and then boom, the Scrozzle voice came out, and I was like, what was that? That doesn't sound like an evil robot, but at this point I didn't care. I just wanted something to give, you know, to the audition. They went with it, and I didn't really understand why. It was like, what is this? No one said anything to me, but my theory is that he sounds like a petulant child, and that works really, really well with Blaze and Roxy always bickering and all the infighting and conniving. And by the end of Beast Morphers, I'd really kind of grown fond of Scrozzle. And yeah, I think he's an underdog, and he doesn't get any respect. And
so, all evil overlords.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to Scrozzle. We all have a bit of Scrozzle in us, so thank you for that. What else? Anybody else? Yeah.
You said you voice acted in anime before. What animes have you done?
Right. So when I moved back, I started doing auditions for Crunchyroll. I started out doing like little kind of like one-off, like one-line characters for One Piece and some other stuff. And then I got to play big sumo with pink hair named Urashima in One Piece, and that was several episodes, and that was fun. And so I've also done some villains and characters for Overlord, The Fruit of Evolution, Shy. I recently did something for Shy, and a few other things. So not a whole lot, but I mean, you know, I'm slowly kind of building up a little bit of a repertoire.
That's cool. Does doing a lot of different voices ever hurt your actual voice?
Gosh, yes. Oh my gosh. You know, I say this kind of in jest, but there's a deathly seriousness behind it. I've done so much voice work for Power Rangers, and I think the secret to my success is that, you know, you just don't hold back. Now, I'm not giving advice to any aspiring voice actors. Like, I'm the kind of guy, I will push my voice as hard as I possibly can in order to achieve the character, which is probably not the smartest thing I can do. And there have been times where, you know, I've walked away from a session and I couldn't talk for 2 or 3 days. Or I was tasting, you know, blood or something in the back of my throat. In fact, I even, when they brought back Lord Zed for the last 2 seasons, I auditioned for him. And just auditioning for Zed, I lost my voice for a week. So maybe I dodged a bullet not getting that. So yeah, there are ways you can kind of achieve the same effect that I've been doing, maybe like half, you know, there's ways of pulling it back, but I don't have time for that. I just go straight for the jugular and I just crank out, you know, the voice as hard as I can. And there have been a few times where, I'm embarrassed to say this, where I've been in the recording booth and I've pushed myself so hard that when I finished the take, I almost passed out.
Oh,
wow.
That's not the worst thing, though. I'm going to share something that I don't think I've ever shared before. So when I was directing, so I became one of the voice directors for the show. There were quite a few people trying to get work on the show, get auditions, and this one guy came in, and he wanted this job so badly, and he pushed his voice really, really super hard, and the end result was kind of amazing. He was doing like this fish voice, and he was doing something with his voice to create the effect, and it was fantastic. And he got the part. He came in. I was the one that directed him, and after like a third of the session, he couldn't stand up. He was just so burned out from what he was doing with pushing his voice so hard, and he kept having to sit down. And I was saying, it's okay, you know, just have a break and everything. And we got through the session. He was sweating like you wouldn't believe. He left, and he told me later. He said 5 minutes after he left, he threw up. So that is not what you should be doing as a voice actor. I know you want the job, I know you want to impress, but just don't push yourself that hard. Says the guy who does exactly that hard.
Isn't it as good as I say, not as I do?
So most of the voice actors that I have met or been befriended have said that they've always had this ultimate goal or someone they aspired to one day have the chance to voice act. Who is yours?
You mean like a character?
A character, even if it's in a video game, an anime, a TV cartoon.
That's a good question.
That is really hard. I may have to get back to you on that. Gosh, no, I shouldn't say this. I'm going to be so embarrassed. If they did a new round of auditions for Looney Tunes, and you know how Sylvester the Cat has this little son who doesn't have a name? I don't think we know what his name is or something. I would love to voice him. It's been so long since I've done it, I don't know if I can pull it off, and I've been doing so many voices today, my voice might already may not be ready to do this, but...
Father, where's the big mouse, Father? Oh, Father, what will I tell the other little pussycats? My father's afraid of a little mouse.
It's something along those lines. Yes, sir.
So you said earlier that you weren't giving advice earlier to any young aspiring voice actors.
No. Don't listen to me. I am the last person you should be listening to.
If you were, what advice would you give?
Okay. I would say, like, I never want to talk somebody out of pursuing their goals or their dreams. And if somebody absolutely wants to be a voice actor, that's fine, go for it. But the thing that I've learned about voice acting is it is literally like any other job. It is very hard to break into. You've got to work really hard. You have to network. I remember there was one job I did a lot of stuff kind of off the clock because I wanted to impress, you know, the people doing the show. So it's hard work, and never take it for granted. Whenever I went into recording sessions, like we did this thing called looping, and looping is like all the background sounds. So they'll bring in like 5 people, and we'll record like maybe the sound of people having a picnic in the background, you know, because those sounds we take for granted, but you know, it's not just it's not just recording the main actors, you've got to hear all the stuff that's going on in the background. So when I did looping, the people who did really well just listened, took direction, didn't try to impress anybody, didn't try to be funny or cute or anything. The ones who goofed around and kind of felt like, well, I'm the greatest thing here, we never saw them again. So just, I guess for me, the overarching thing is just stay humble. Just work hard and just appreciate what you have. So,
Yeah. Speaking of looping, I've seen, like when characters or actors do voicing for animated movies, they have to go and do like the on average, how many takes do you generally have to do for those?
you mean like fight effort sounds?
Yeah, fight effort sounds, any kind of like effort sounds.
Well, I don't really know how to answer that because most of my characters on Rangers fought at one point or another. Some characters, like ongoing characters, they may not necessarily fight every episode, but like eventually they would fight. But on average, oh man, I don't know how to answer that. A lot. A lot.
That's a good answer.
And yeah, that's a whole other thing where I probably pushed myself a little too hard because I really want it to sound good. But you can probably pull it back 50% of what you're actually doing, and it still works.
So, kind of a follow-up to that, do you have to do the effort sounds tailored to each character, or are they all kind of the same?
I try to tailor them to the characters. So, like if I'm doing a voice that's very high-pitched, I try to make the fight efforts sound like that character. If they all sound the same, people are going to be like, hey, hold on. I've heard that fight sound before. So, yeah, in as much as you're able to. But the thing to bear in mind is what sounds great to you won't necessarily translate on screen because they're going to be adding sound effects, they're going to be adding music. So a lot of what you do is going to get diminished. So you probably can do about maybe 50% of what you're doing and save your voice. I know there's more questions out there.
Do you want to answer my question about?
Yeah, sure. What was your?
It was what kind of goal do you have maybe for this year, or big goal that you have?
I want to do more anime work. Yeah, just more anime work. And there's probably some other stuff. I can't remember.
Could I ask you a question about your anime work?
Yeah,
You
sure.
said you've done Crunchyroll. My ultimate goal is to work at Crunchyroll.
Right.
I have a lot of different aspects and roadmaps to that. But what would you say like the environment's like? Just going in there, talk to the people, stuff like that.
Everyone's really nice. I want to be cautious in how I say this because I don't want it to sound like I'm embellishing or anything. If I had not done all those years of voice work on Power Rangers, I think I would have crashed and burned the first time I went into Crunchyroll. With Power Rangers, it was very, it was kind of a certain pace. You go in, watch the scene down, they talk to the director, maybe share some ideas, do one or two takes, get a feel for it, And it was a kind of nice, relaxed process.
Right.
I'm not suggesting that it's not relaxed at Crunchyroll. What I'm saying is that they are making so many shows
Right.
that it's a machine. It's a well-oiled machine, and you've got to be on your game when you get there. So, like, I remember the first time I went in to report something, and it was just like, whoa, I'm not used to this, but I mean, because I had done all the kind of prep work with Power Rangers,
right.
It gave me just enough tools to kind of get through the session. You've got to be, you've really got to know your game, and it kind of reminded me of a soap opera I had worked on years ago. And soap operas are they're notorious for they're similar kind of style. They're just like a very well-oiled machine. They will film the equivalent of like an entire episode per day. So like you go in to record a scene, it's like you got 20 minutes to record that scene. They set up the cameras, you do your blocking, boom, go, you're done. Okay, move on. So you got to know what you're doing. So it's a Crunchyroll is a very well-oiled machine. They know what they're doing. They're cranking out a really good product, but you've got to be on your game when you go in there.
So for the Power Rangers characters that you voiced, Have you ever had the chance to wear one of their costumes on their outfits?
No, but funny you should say that. I've been up close to some of the costumes, and you know, they're not just like rubber suits. The detail is amazing. During Beast Morphers, while everyone was at lunch, I went onto the villain set, and I just kind of wanted a moment to kind of reflect and just kind of take everything in. And I looked over, and there was the Scrozzle helmet. I didn't put it on, but I picked it up, and I had a conversation with it.
Like Hamlet.
And I filmed it. So at some point, I will probably put that footage online.
That's awesome.
Have you met any of the OG Power Rangers?
I've met actually quite a few of the
Like I met
OG.
JDF before he passed.
Right.
And then I've met Amy Joe.
Mhm.
And then in Dallas, coming up this summer, there's going to be FedEx Expo. And I thought I'd meet Johnny there.
Right. Every time I'm at a convention, I try to meet them, and because I kind of feel like we're family, and I really want to meet them. And it kind of reminds me of something that happened Power Morphicon 2022. There was only one person that year I really wanted to meet, and that was Vernon Wells, who plays Rancic in Time Force. Vernon Wells, who plays Rancic in Time Force, the villain, and he was only 4 tables down from me. That weekend was so crazy that I didn't even have time to walk down and talk to him for 2 minutes. And so I was really bummed out. Fast forward to last October, and I found out about this Comic Con not far from me, and it was like a week away, and I just thought on a whim, I'll just reach out. Hey, do you have an extra table? And they're like, yeah, sure, come on out. Guess who was at the table right next to me?
Nice.
So for the whole weekend, I just got to like fanboy
That's
and
awesome.
go listen to all these stories. It was awesome.
As an actor, what TV shows or movies have you acted in?
I'm going to try and focus on the ones that might still be remembered. In several episodes of Xena, Warrior Princess.
Oh my.
Yeah, and in 3 of those episodes, I got beat up by Xena. I was in an episode of Hercules. That was a fun role. Then Legend of the Seeker. I had a part in Ash vs. Evil Dead, but they cut most of my dialogue from that, which was New Legends of Monkey. Documentary series that came out a few years ago called Making of the Mob, and it's about the organized crime, and I was in one that would focus on Al Capone, and I got to play a historical figure who had worked for Al Capone. The scene where he murders me, which wasn't too nice. So I've had the privilege of being able to work on a few kind of high-profile shows, but going back to something I was saying to some people a while back. When people say, what was it like working on Power Rangers? And the reality is, we didn't know what we were involved with. To us, it was just a job. We just went in, we needed to pay rent, we did the thing, and we had no idea that we were contributing to one of the most successful pop culture phenomenons in the world. So it wasn't until I started in 2005, it wasn't until about 2017 I realized I need to know more about the show, and I went back and I binge watched everything from Mighty Morphin to Dino Thunder. And my brain was fried, but I tell you what, it was absolutely worth it.
So it sounds like you've done a lot of villain work. Have you done any where you're the good guy?
A few. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head is Alpha 6 from Operation Overdrive. So that was kind of cool. And then the most recent season of Power Rangers, my villain becomes a good guy. So that was kind of cool. I'm sure there's some other things I'm just not thinking of.
So would you prefer being the bad guy?
I like being the good guy. I keep getting cast as a bad guy, but it's okay, it's fine. It's fine.
Do you prefer voice acting over physical acting, or do you like both equally?
That's also hard to answer because my background was in theater, so I did theater for many years, and then I moved into film and TV, and I did that, and I enjoy the process. I enjoy being on a set and interacting with everybody, and it's kind of like a mechanism. We're all dependent on each other. But I have gotten to a point where I think I prefer voice acting now. I don't know why, it's just more satisfying. Yes?
Circling back to what you said with the actor Forensic earlier about listening to all the stories he had, do you have any similar stories of your own? Like fun stuff that happened?
Too many stories. Oh my gosh, I wouldn't even know where to begin with that. Yeah, I mean, okay, I can tell one quick story. I'll try to get through it as quickly as I can. So, when I was doing Beast Morphers, and I was the voice of Scrozzle, one day, and I don't remember why, I was actually on location where they filmed the show, and I saw the warehouse where they had the villain set, which was at that point, I think it was the Crystal Dimension. And I snuck onto it, and I walked in here, like, oh my gosh, I'm in the Crystal Dimension. This is so big, it's so cool, wow. I was trying to remain, anonymous and everything. And the third AD saw me, and she walked over and she's like, "Who are you?" And I was like, I'm the voice of Scrozzle. And she went, "Oh, you wait right there." And she ran off to the director, and the director for the second unit was Japanese. She told him who I was, and he tells her, "You go get Koji." Koji Memora was the suit actor for Scrozzle. And I had seen Koji off in the distance, and he was in the Scrozzle suit, but he didn't have the head on. Get a little physical here. So Koji kind of waddles, because it's a big, heavy suit, waddles over, and he's like looking at the director, and they're both talking Japanese, and he's like mentally, he looked like he was trying to say, like, why are you bringing me over here? What's going on? And the director was talking to him, and they're both talking Japanese, and the director pointed at me, and Koji went, and I was speechless. I was just like, wow, I do not deserve that honor. And Koji and I, we've kind of since become friends, and he said, at one point, he very kindly said, like, once he heard the Scrozzle voice, because remember, when they were filming it, they don't have the voice. They don't know what it's going to sound like. They're just, the suit actors, they're all doing their lines in Japanese. So he told me at one point that once he heard the voice in the finished product, it started informing his performance, and of course that fed, because I could see his performance, like, okay, that helped me with the voice, and so it was kind of like a symbiotic relationship.
That's cool.
Anybody got anything else?
Do you enjoy seeing yourself in movies and TV shows?
Absolutely not. I don't know what it is, and it's not just me. I know there's a lot of actors who don't like seeing ourselves on the screen. Like, I'm horrified when I hear actors who've been in like some of my favorite TV series, and they've never seen an episode. They don't want to see themselves, and I'm just like, why? It's brilliant, but I kind of get it. I'm the same. I don't really.
Is that why you did voice acting?
No, I got into voice acting because I needed to make more money. It worked out that once I got into the booth, it was like, yay, less screen time. Sure, there's more crazy. Yes.
What's your favorite non-Power Rangers thing you've done?
Favorite non-Power Ranger voice that I've
Yeah.
done? Man, that's tough. I enjoyed doing Hiroshima in One Piece. There was a snail that I did. It was a amazing animation being done in New Zealand, and by a total fluke, I somehow got to do one of the snails. His design was magnificent. He had like this, it was like a little handlebar mustache, and so I was like, he's clearly French, so he's doing the lines, like with that kind of fake French accent and everything. You can find it online. It's called Escargot. Not escargot, escargot. And when you see the film, you'll understand why it's called that. But visually, it's stunning. It's one of the best things I've ever done.
Okay. When you were in New Zealand, did you have to have an accent, or were you able to just act with the American?
No, it was like it's kind of hard to explain. Like a lot of productions that film there, they want American accents. So you would think, oh, I'm automatically, I'm set. But there were also a lot of Kiwis over there doing American accents, so I had competition. I'm sure there were some jobs that my natural American accent helped me get the job, and then other times where, I didn't get a job, and then I heard the performance of the person who got it, and I was like, that is a terrible American accent. Why did you not cast me? Sometimes it helped, sometimes it didn't. Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about like what it's like in the booth whenever you're actually doing a voice acting? Well, let's say for like you said, you were doing that One Piece voiceover. Maybe just how it kind of functions.
It depends on the job. Like, you know, when I started out on Power Rangers, I can't really explain why, but like the first 2 or 3 times I went into the recording booth, I was terrified. And because it was just so alien to me. And then once I'd done it for a while, I kind of relaxed into it, and I got used to the various directors who I've worked with. And if you go to my YouTube channel, I've actually got some behind the scenes video footage of me like recording characters. And you'll hear me like cutting up with them and saying things like, you know, like friendly jesting, which, you know, you would not do if you were recording in a professional studio and you didn't know the director. These were friends of mine I knew for 15 years. But then, like, there's other jobs where you go in and you don't know anybody, you don't know the director, you don't know anything, and you just want to be on your best behavior because you want to get asked back.
Right.
It changes from job to job.
Have you ever been caught off guard when you're doing normal day things and you hear a voice that you've done?
Yeah, I think that has happened. I can't remember the specifics, but I'm more concerned where I'll be going about my day-to-day business and I'll just suddenly go, ay. I'm like, whoa, why did I do that? So I guess some of the characters are really kind of ingrained in me, and every now and then they slip out.
Do you mess up with a lot of people with different voices?
No, I just don't have the heart to do it. You know what I mean? No, I can't do that. Yeah, it is a missed opportunity, but I'm just not that brave.
So they say never meet your heroes, but has there ever been a time where you met like an actor or voice actor that you looked up to, either in the booth or at an event or something, that turned out really well?
That turned out well or didn't turn out well?
That did turn out well.
Meeting Vernon Wells, that was magnificent. That was such a wonderful experience. For the most part, I've been pretty lucky with some of the people that I've met. They've been pretty gracious. There was one time where, I'm not going to say what the production was or who the actor was, but it was somebody who I really, really liked. He was in one of my favorite TV shows, and I was working on a project with him, and I got to spend kind of some one-on-one time with him, and I was so nervous I made a complete fool out of myself. And I'm pretty sure he was not impressed with me. That was a bit unfortunate, but it's just life. You just have to feel your way through these things sometimes.
So I personally am a linguist, and so when I get in different social situations, I notice that because of my perfectionism towards whatever language I'm learning, I've tried to develop that other person's accent. I imagine voice acting is similar. Have you noticed yourself becoming an accent chameleon when you're around different people?
Right. I would say to some degree, yes. There are certain accents I don't remember actively listening to, but I just kind of picked up unconsciously. But what I will say is the inverse, I suppose. When I was living in New Zealand, you would think after 25 years, I would have picked up the accent, and I didn't. And a lot of people said, like, wow, you still sound American. And I guess, I guess it's just ingrained in me. But when I worked on Power Rangers, the director he worked with me so much. He knew me really, really well, and there were times where he said, you gotta redo that. That's sounding a little too English. So I was dropping R's at the end of words and maybe emphasizing the E a little bit too much. I was like, oh man. So unconsciously, I did start to pick up a little bit of a New Zealand accent, but not enough to be really obvious. Yeah.
Is there anything else? We got time for about one more question if so. If not.
Thank you, everybody. Honestly, for what it's worth, this is the first panel I've ever done by myself, and you've all been a magnificent audience. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it.